19A is the completing the square question, and I like to use a diagram. I've drawn a square. So how am I going to get, I'm going to forget about this bit for the time being, how am I going to get x squared minus 10x and sort of create it into a square? Well, I can make this little bit x and x, but now I need some numbers, but I need these numbers to be the same and give me minus 10x. So I need a minus 5 and a minus 5. That will give me my area of minus 5x minus 5x. I probably should write these in actually. It's just I've run out of space. So I've nearly got a square now, but I've got an extra 25. So I can write this as x minus 5 squared. I've just halved the minus 10, and that's something to learn over time. But then I've got a plus 25, so I need to minus 25. Basically, this x squared minus 10x, which is what I've got here, is the whole square, but I need to minus 25. And then I'm basically done, because x squared minus 10x plus 22 is going to be x minus 5 squared minus 25 plus 22, and that becomes x minus 5 squared minus 3, and this is in the correct form now. So I ignore the plus 22 to start with because it's just in the way, but I do need to bring them back in at the end. Now, why is this useful in maths? It's so you can sketch some. I mean, there's lots of reasons why it's useful, but in this particular case, it allows me to help sketch this graph. So, key thing when you get a quadratic is to remember: is it a sad quadratic or is it a happy quadratic? And this, because there's an x squared, it's a happy quadratic rather than one of these, which is minus x squared. That's meant to be a minus. Okay, so actually, if we get the shape right, we get some points, get some marks. The turning point is the key thing here. So this thing here is equal to x minus 5 squared minus 3 from above. And the crucial thing is that this thing here is always bigger or equal to 0. It can't be negative. Okay, and so the thing overall must be bigger or equal to minus 3. It can't be any less than minus 3 because this is always 0 or more. And that gives us the minimum point, minus 3. When does that minimum point occur? It's going to be when this is the smallest it can be. It's going to be when it's 0. And it's going to be when x is 5. It's the thing that makes this bracket 0. So the turning point is 5 minus 3, which I'm going to put down here. So completing the square allows us to get that turning point. We're not asked about the intercepts with the x-axis, but we are asked about the intercept with the y-axis. And for that, we can just let x equal 0, and it's 22. It's going to be up here somewhere. And now, as long as we do our happy quadratic that goes through these 2 points, then it's all good. You should try and make it roughly symmetrical, because in fact this becomes a line of symmetry, not required in this question, required for A-level. In this question, you do need to use your complete. Actually, if you can't do part A, then you're in a bit of trouble. You could still do the y-intercept in the general shape, but yeah, you do get penalised for that if you didn't write it in the correct form. I would say if you couldn't remember how to do it, just use any numbers, and then if you could somehow remember that this links to the minimum, you could still probably get more marks for this later question. But anyway, that's how we can do a sketch of a quadratic using completing the square to give us the turning point and get the y-intercept, and we can remember the general shape.